FFLs. How about this one? We have a case where a customer of an FFL who's an American citizen of Armenian descent visited by ATF agents seeking information about his legal firearm purchases. When asked why they wanted to know about his firearm purchases, agents told him that it was because he was born in Iran and had purchased multiple firearms from that FFL. Think about that. How about this one? A different FFL. They have video cameras everywhere. They have one room. The ATF inspector goes in, takes the documents with him, and on their personal phone starts taking pictures of all the documents. Personal phone. Is that normal? Is that normal to use your personal phone?
Again, I'm not familiar with the facts and circumstances of that.
Is that normal?
Matter,
is that part of you guys?
But we conduct our inspections pursuant to a procedure. It is a public procedure, and we follow that procedure in conducting those,
including personal phones of your inspector.
An FFL holder who was in compliance with Biden's Bipartisan Safer Communities Act is rated by the ATF anyway. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC, P.A.N. Firearms for NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like my channel, like my content and what I do here and wish to support me, you can do so with the link in the description box. Everything is appreciated. And let's talk about this. Now, this came out of Oklahoma. This is basically what I refer to as a basement FFL. This is a person who has an FFL but does their business from their home. They also call it tabletop gun dealing. And usually what you find, people who do this, they do a lot of, relic stuff and, wartime firearms, or, they do a transfer here and there for some friends and buddies. There are a number of them out there. I like to refer to them as basement FFLs. But this gentleman out in Oklahoma had an FFL because he did a lot at gun shows. He would go to gun shows and sell his wares there. He had an inspection by the ATF, all nice and friendly like. And then a week or two later, he was raided by the ATF and had his FFL removed. Now, this is all a culmination of Biden's attack on firearms license dealers with this zero tolerance policy, where they're literally revoking FFLs for minor paperwork infractions, which they're very proud of, from what I understand. But this is just another example of that, and it's hard for me to say I'm surprised, but it's still infuriating. But let's go ahead and read about it here, because this is definitely something we have to start paying attention to, because Biden is obviously trying to shut down as many FFLs as he can, which not so much for this, as he claims, the public safety. He's doing it to limit our access to firearms. You go through a licensed dealer, if there are fewer of them, that's a real problem. And I'm going to come down here, jump right in here, and ATF SWAT team raids kitchen table gun dealer's Oklahoma home. Russell Fincher is a high school history teacher, a Baptist pastor, and a part-time gun dealer. He also coaches Little League in his hometown of Tuskahoma, Oklahoma, which has a population of around 151 souls. Wow. Fincher, 52, has had a federal firearms license for 3 years. He has no brick and mortar gun shop. He's what used to be called a kitchen table FFL, what I call basement FFLs. He sells most guns at gun shows, including Wanamacha's Arms Show in Tulsa. Quote, living in Southeast Oklahoma, if you don't have a gun under 400, people ain't buying it, he said Thursday. Rarely do people come to my house to buy a gun. In April, Fincher received a call from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. They wanted to do an inspection at his home. I told them they were welcome anytime, Fincher said. Technically, if you own an FFL, when they say we want to do an inspection, you can't say no. But 2 ATF inspectors arrived days later. They spent 3 hours in his home. They took pictures of his 4473s with their cell phone, which is illegal, which is actually illegal. They can't do that. Which Fincher has learned is illegal, although common practice. Honestly, they were way nicer than I expected, because they're going to be nice to you because they're trying to find something on you, so they're going to make you feel comfortable while they're doing it. They're not your friends. let me be clear about it. If you got an FFL and they show up for an inspection, these people are not your friends. They are looking for things they can get you on. So they're going to be all friendly about it. But you're not your buddies, they're not your pals. They're there to try to find something to shut you down on, especially with the current atmosphere created by this administration when it comes to licensed dealers. But honestly, they were way nicer than I expected. They said I had some guns that had traces on them, which concerned them. It concerned me too. The inspectors returned 2 weeks later. They had some concerns involving Fincher's penmanship, which they couldn't read on several forms. They also found he had juxtaposed the model number of a firearm with the model serial number. Okay? Where the section says put serial number, he accidentally put the model number, and vice versa with the serial number, which Fincher was attempting to rectify. On June 16, 2023, Fincher and his son were packing for a gun show in Tulsa when the phone rang. It was the ATF. They said they wanted to talk to him before he left for the gun show. Quote, we can come out to your house, he recalls agent saying. I thought I'm sure I'd be home. That's when 7 vehicles roared up to his home and disgorged a dozen ATF agents wearing tactical gear armed with AR-15s. It was like the Trump raid. They called me out onto my deck and handcuffed me. My son was there and he saw the whole thing. He's 13 years old, Fincher said. They held me on the porch for about an hour. I was surrounded by agents. One by one, they yelled at me about what I was doing. In my mind, I decided if they were going to beat me up over every little thing, I'm done. As soon as I said, if you want my FFL, you can have it. One of the agents pulled out a piece of paper and said, well, then sign here. Well, how convenient. He had made 3 copies in case I screwed one up. It's exactly what they wanted. I was shocked. As soon as Fincher relinquished his federal firearms license, the ATF began loading up his guns, including a Colt Commander, 5 Glocks, and a Mint AK, a Polytech pre-band milled under folder, which is worth thousands of dollars. They took more than 50 of my personal guns, Fincher said. I asked them why, and they said there were evidence. But I estimate they took $50,000 to $60,000 worth of guns. Wow. You can see the list here of everything they took, but after ATF SWAT team cleared Fincher's home, they called the agent in charge of the raid, Special Agent Theodore Mungle, and told him it was safe to come up. You're done. We have shut you down, Fincher recalls Mungle saying. You tell all your FFL buddies we're coming for them. We are shutting the gun shows down. Wow. 100 told me that they hate home FFLs, Fincher said. He said, if I wanted to sell a Browning shotgun to somebody at a gun show with no paperwork, that's no problem. But when I sell a Glock or an AR that's a gangbanger. So he's saying that anybody who buys an AR or a Glock is a gangbanger? That's a pretty racist damn thing to say. What? Okay, I asked him where it said that in the regs. He said no gangbanger would be shooting people with a $2,000 Benelli. To me, that's one of the dumbest statements he could have ever made, and racist statements. Several agents accused Fincher of making too much money through his gun show sales. He told them at the last show he attended, he only sold $75 worth of ammunition, but spent $1,200 on hotels, tables, gas, and food. They said I was basically using my FFL to sell guns personally, Fincher said. They said I was going around the system, putting guns on the street that should not be. Fincher was told to load the firearms the ATF didn't want into the back of his pickup, which he later took to another FFL. Toward the end of the ordeal, Fincher asked Mungle about his guns they had seized. He told me, if you're willing to forfeit them, we can make a lot of this go away. Oh my God, that's bribery. That's straight blackmail. Yeah, if you give them up, anything we got on you, we can make disappear. Wow. This sounds to me like a shakedown. That's exactly what it is. They seized my guns as punitive damage. They knew how to get me by taking all my guns. There was no rhyme, no reason to what they took. Honestly, they took the most expensive and rarest ones. The Second Amendment Foundation's investigative journalism project contacted ATF Special Agent Theodore Mungle on his cell phone Thursday afternoon and asked why he raided Fincher's home and seized his guns. Quote, I cannot answer any questions, he said. There's your politician answer. I'm not supposed to do that per my agency. Actually, I'm not supposed to talk to anyone until I get approval from my higher-ups. I have to verify who you are, take down your info, and go through my agency. Despite his promises, Mungle never called back. Okay. There does not appear to be any justification for a SWAT team raid or such a massive show of force. After all, Fincher invited the ATF into his home. But like I said in the beginning, they're not there as your pals. They're there to find something wrong. ATF inspections are not necessarily about you being in compliance. It's about how can we get something on you. That's the reality. After berating him for more than an hour, the agents never told Fincher if or when he would be charged with a crime. He fears he would lose his teaching job if he is charged with a felony. Quote, "They have my life in the palm of their hands and they have very little accountability," he said. "I'm just trying to make a living and it takes 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Dealing as little as I have with the ATF, when you ask them a specific question, they'll tell you it's a gray area. Well, a gray area can send you to jail. I'm not Hunter Biden. I'm not going to get my weapons charges dropped." Wow, let's come out of that. And there it is. This is the environment that this administration is creating by weaponizing. We've seen them weaponize other agencies, but weaponizing the ATF to go after the FFL dealers, and they're apparently starting at the small guys. You know, the basement, the tabletop, FFLs, people who sell gun shows. Shut them down. You can shut down the gun show, because who's going to be able to sell? If you remember, doing the part of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, they had a provision in there for people who sell guns at gun shows, saying if you sell a certain amount, you're considered a dealer and you got to go get a license. And how many people are going to do that? But this goes in conjunction, as you remember, not too long ago, I did a story on FFLs that were being raided by the ATF with very little explanation. And there's another story I'm going to pick up here shortly about an FFL who was raided, but the FFL that was raided was the key plaintiff in the 80% receiver rule, which, if you remember, just got struck down by a federal judge. And the ATF raided the guy's store, and apparently I believe he still has his license, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look into that. But it shows a dangerous path that's being taken with these kind of things. And for the 80% receiver rule, I know that some of you are like, well, how does it apply to Connecticut? Well, we have a law that apparently the Attorney General doesn't have to follow, that says you cannot import 80% receivers. So it doesn't really affect us unless we overturn that law. But this guy's store being raided after being one of the key plaintiffs in the 80% receiver rule lawsuit shows what's going on here. This poor guy is literally going to have his life turned upside down because they know he doesn't have the money or the resources to hire, the top-notch attorney to drag them into court. That's why they did it. Okay? If this guy had the means of money, they'd be very cautious about how they approach him. But it's a very dirty little game that's going on here. And like I said, I can't say I'm surprised, but it's infuriating nonetheless, because you can see how corrupt this all is. They took his very expensive firearms and then told him, oh yeah, if you give them up, this can kind of go away. That's extortion. And it shocks me that there isn't a court in this, this guy's town who would not step up and say, you're wrong. You're completely wrong in how you did this. But this is going to be a continuing trend, and we have to keep an eye on it. But this is very disturbing, and quite honestly, a horrible story that you have to hear. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I will see you on the next one. Peace.